So that is about money.
Right. Right.
And the other two big issues that we deal with, time and fear.
Absolutely. I think that especially because we live in an immediate gratification society, they call it the I generation. We thought the millennials were going to be tough to deal with. Now they've got the I generation, and it means I want it now. And recently in a program that we're doing for an organization, we went back and looked up, and we talk about the layaway society, which is how we grew up, and the immediate gratification society. And it's an interesting concept because, people would wait. They would wait, and now everything you do and you get, it's at the click of the button.
Yes.
I mean, it's in the marketing, and we could talk about all the different companies out there that have marketed this immediate gratification society. But what I know about time is, being able to be open and honest with people when they say, I want my teeth by this wedding, or I want to be able to smile on Sunday, or I want to sing in the choir, and our cantata is such and such day. I think listening and having a relationship are huge. And if you've got a relationship with them at that time, most of the time, if time is an issue, they've probably, in many instances, said something about money. So I like to say, if, in an instance like this, I'll be honest with you, time makes it safer. We could do it in your time frame, but I'm going to need to charge you more. And the patient would say, why do you need to charge me more? And you'd say, well, because when we have to redo it, we have to cover some of those costs now. Because time is what's going to make it safer. Time's what's going to make it predictable. Time's what's going to make it work. I think that just asking questions, and when they say budget's a concern, well, if budget's a concern, do you think it makes sense that we do it right the first time? Because to do it right, I'm going to need this amount of time.
So if we need more time, we can deal with that.
Right.
If we can handle it in the time frame, it's still understanding their values and what's important to them, and accommodating.
It is, and it's the relationship. People will do more for you when you know more about them. So why is this timing issue, important to this person? And one of my favorite savvy lingos, and I realize that's a whole other series, but one of my favorite savvy lingos that we use about time is, Miss Patient, your mouth didn't get this way overnight, and we won't be able to repair it that way either. Does that make sense? So I've come back around with a question, does this make sense? And they say, yes, absolutely, because the destruction doesn't happen.
And so time and money, now fear.
Fear. Fear's a big one. I mean, I think that we see this a lot because we do some larger, bigger cases. And when you start to do those things, one of the things that you'll run into is people will say, when you got used SWOT, for instance, and you find out that the reason they haven't had it done, yes, they'd love to have this perfect smile, but the reason they haven't done it is because they're afraid. It's not always money. Some of them, they're just afraid.
And actually, it holds many people away from dentistry.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's where really having the people on the phone, the people that are chairside with your doctor, really understand how to say to that patient, Melinda, have you met Dr. Majors yet? Have you spent much, and you already know the answer. You should already know this answer. Right? Have you spent much time with Dr. Majors? Have you noticed that Dr. Majors really pays attention when he says, I want you to let me know if you feel this? He is very careful. I mean, I think that this is where the team comes in so valuable, especially if your team members have great dentistry. That's huge, because then they get their own testimony. It speaks volumes. And you have to be able to make it comfortable for people. I'm not going to get into a philosophical issue about whether you use nitrous or you don't use nitrous, whether you use oral sedation or you don't. But I'm just here to say there's a whole market of people out there that are afraid. And if you haven't considered one of those options for your patients, you really should think about it, because they too need amazing care.